Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Perpetual Chess. Listeners, I can hardly believe it, but we are back with one of the original guests of the podcast, and I will reintroduce himself in a minute. But first, shout out to our sponsors, Chessable.com. We'll be discussing our guest's course, Gustafsson's Aggressive 1 E4. It's a fairly advanced course. I've been going through it. We'll be discussing it. Our guest doesn't mess around when it comes to the opening theory. But if you're at a lower level, check out last week's guest, GM Josh Friedel's course for beginners, which is excellent. And if you're intermediate, then you're going to have to wait for my course, which I will get back to working on right after this interview. But as for our guest, very excited to have him back. I forgot to count how many times he's been on the show, but he's an old friend, but more importantly, a renowned commentator, opening theoretician, author, lapsed podcaster, Chessable author, most recently of Gustafsson's Aggressive 1 E4, co-authored with friend of the pod, candidate master Vjekoslav Nemec, sometimes second to top players like Magnus, Carlson, and maybe some other people that he's not going to tell us about. But without further ado, very excited to welcome back to the pod, Grandmaster Jan Gustafsson. Welcome, Jan.
Thank you so much. It's been a while.
It has.
Like, what is this? My fourth or fifth appearance, but it feels like it's been years. Probably because it's been years.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Sitting by the phone, you're not calling. Episode 25 with Greg Shahadi.
Well,
nothing's happening.
I figured when you started ghosting your friends at the Chicken Chess Club, like, how can you make time for Perpetual Chess if you're not even...
But they're not my friends. We go way back. I thought we had a deeper connection, and then nothing.
Okay, I've made a note, and I'm going to start bugging you every week from here on out. But yeah, obviously, super excited to catch up. Takes me back to the old days when it was just you, me, and 3 listeners, and now we've got 5. So very exciting stuff. But Jan,
that's not the old days. The old days is like the late 90s in New York City when we were bright-eyed kids trying to make it in the world. Me as a chess player. You were on your laptop playing some weird card games. Now we're serious middle-aged people.
You are making me feel old. And since you bring that up, actually, we're going to hop right into the Patreon mailbag because Evan Rosenberg, fellow circa late 1990s New Yorker, actually wrote and asked basically the question, I'll read it, but basically the question is, how does it feel to be getting old and what generation do you identify with? But I'm going to read his question. Evan writes, it's been too long, Jan. I remember us back in the good old days drinking beer and playing blitz on ICC in John Fernandez's basement. It was a different, perhaps more innocent time, and it makes me curious whether you see yourself as a member of some particular generation along a contemporary chess timeline. What say you, Jan?
I'm not good with generations. What are we? Gen X, no? I think I'm too old to be a millennial. I think everybody's a boomer nowadays if you're over 30. So probably we're just generation boomer, but technically it's Gen X, no?
Yeah, I've never really spoken the whole generation thing either. But I think he's more curious from a chess perspective. Like, who were the top players when you were coming, like in your age bracket and the juniors and all that stuff? And do you identify closely with them, or since you're like Team Magnus, is it more like your working contemporaries?
I don't know. The first chess match I followed, I wasn't aware we have to show our age here, like right at the beginning of the podcast. But I think it was 1990, Karpov-Kasparov in Lyon and New York. Was rooting for Gary then. Then I think I became a Kramnik fanboy in the 90s. I was a big Kramnik fan, which, is interesting with nowadays context, but big fan of Vlad back then. Those were the people I looked up to coming up. As for my generation, Leko was born the same year, but in general, it's 1979. It's not the guys that crushed, it's the guys from the 1990s that we're still dealing with, the Magnuses, Karanas, Giris, Nepomniachtchi, MVL. It feels like they were all born in the same year. Before it was the Kramnik, Topalov. Anand is a bit older, but I still count him as part of that generation. So I don't belong to either generation, even though skill-wise, of course, I'm right up there with both.
Of course. Okay, and that calls to mind. I was, as I told you right before we hit record, I was reviewing your Bundesliga games. I'm amazed that you still go out there and you're playing freaking like Duda and MVL. And I know you lost to another grandmaster whose name is in my outline, but I'm not going to look. But as you know from previous interviews, Jan, us Potzers, the Bundesliga is quite fascinating to me. So, I mean, you're welcome to talk about the games. I'm sure they were a bit frustrating. but
I forgot all about them
I'm
already.
curious about the atmosphere as well. Like, walk us through, like, you show up, is everyone meeting somewhere? Is there a big team meeting with a pep talk? What happens at the Bundesliga?
I mean, this weekend was a bit different from others because normally it's just 4 teams meeting in a German metropolis like Altbach, Fernheim, Deitzisau, these big cities that everybody's talking about. And then you show up on Friday night, you have dinner with the team, you play on Saturday, 2 p.m., Sunday, 10 a.m. Then you try to be done around like 10:50, and then you take a train back home. But this weekend was different because all the teams met in the same location. It was 3 rounds. Some big stars like Nakamura, Anand showing up. So a lot of chess fans were there. So I was being my usual self. I put in my AirPods, didn't talk to anybody, went to the games, played horribly, went back to the hotel. I'm a man of the people.
So you're not like fanboying with Anand? I mean, I know you've had the opportunity to do that in the past.
We had dinner the night before, but just the 2 teams, Deitzisau and Baden-Baden. We were staying in the same team, in the same hotel. So there was a lot of star power at that dinner. Vishy was there, Aronian, Vincent, Keymer, a lot of strong chess players. Yeah, I was a bit starstruck.
Your boy, Keymer.
It's my boy.
Very exciting for German
playing
chess.
Prague right now.
I mean, he's unstoppable.
Do you know I'm the national coach of Germany?
That would explain his success.
It really doesn't. But yeah, we finished second in the European Team Championship last year, led, of course, by Vincent. They have a good generation there in Germany. So I'm trying to stay young by hanging out with these guys and, dropping knowledge. Like, today we should try to win the match.
Right.
You play solid, you
One
win.
move at a time.
What do they do without
Right.
Never get too high, never get too low.
Exactly. Got to have a short memory.
Keep Bronny's name out of your mouth and stuff like that.
Well, what impresses you? I mean, I know Keymer's obviously been on the scene for a while, but what do you notice in interacting with him and watching him play?
He's so fast and so passionate. I know all your listeners, the adult improvers, are working nonstop. But even at dinner, these kids, they're solving chess exercises, talking about recent games. They're just living the game. And how strong he was, my first gig as German team captain was at the Olympiad in Chennai. When was it? 2 years ago? And there, because as a captain, you got nothing to do. You bring your book and you sit there and you wait for somebody to offer a draw, and then you say, yeah, you decide yourself, rather than that you read your book. But I always had my chair next to Vincent's board, and I could watch him play, and there I realized how freaking strong he was, because I was trying to figure out what's going on, and then I thought, oh, why this move? And then, yeah, you would slowly catch up that he's seen way more than me. He was already, 2,700, but if you see it like up close for many hours without any distractions, I could really tell, yeah, this guy's good, and, well, he's not the only one. The Pragnandas, Gukesh is up to Satoru's out there. Pretty special generation of kids coming up. But I think Vincent is right there with him.
Yeah, very exciting. I mean, I kind of can't wait to see, like, who ends up the strongest of them all. But it could just be passing the baton back and forth. We will see. And then, we've got 8-year-olds beating grandmasters like every week. It sort of feels like this is only the beginning.
What happened? Has time passed us by? Why didn't I beat Grandmasters? What did I do wrong?
Why didn't I beat Grandmasters? End of sentence. Well, let me ask you, Jan. So the busy life of Jan Gustafsson. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, chilling with Anand and Nakamura at the Bundesliga. Your course launches on Monday. You also on Monday played this Chess.com team match with your boy, Peter Svidler. And first of all, shout out to Chess.com. I really enjoyed the format. Obviously, I like Naroditsky and Hess. I've been lucky enough to interview them. They're from the United States, so maybe I'm supposed to root for them for that reason. I had to root for the old guys, though. But what was that experience like, Jan?
We lost. It's been a lot of losing recently. I think the format is fun, and I can't say we had all figured out. In general, my approach was, I'll make the first 12 moves and then I'll let Peter calculate everything. But of course, you can talk a bit of chess, and I think it's a fun format to watch, but it didn't last long. We blundered in the Armageddon early on, and that was it. So I don't know, even though I should get used to it. Still, whenever I play chess, I sort of want to win, so I can't really tell from an outside perspective how the format worked. But I think it's fun. Like, you can see people talking a bit and two strong players consulting. I think adds a slightly different dynamic. So I think it's a good format idea, but I'm sad we're out.
Yeah. And, you say it was a short visit, but you guys went to Armageddon. Obviously, that's a strong team you're playing. I mean, all the teams are strong. So, but I mean,
come on, Ben. We don't have to sugarcoat losing to freaking Hess and Naroditsky. Shout out. It's been rough.
Shots fired.
It's been a rough stretch.
Naroditsky's a blitz beast. So I didn't.
That was 10 plus 10. No, they're great players.
Yeah, I didn't feel like you guys were favorites going in. I have to say, but
wow, shots fired.
Again, 10 years ago, different story. But time.
Is this whole show gonna be about how old and useless we are? You're much older.
I know, right? Don't get me started. Okay, yeah, I feel that we should probably move on. So. Well, one thing I wanted to hit from the Bundesliga is, you're out with this this Chessable course. Everyone's excited. And shockingly, it's 1E4, but maybe less shockingly, in the Bundesliga, I only saw 3 games. I apologize if you played more. In your game with White, not only did you play D4, but you lost. So explain these actions.
I also made a draw with 1 D4.
That's true. With
amazing
MVL,
performance with 1 D4. I drew MVL.
Yeah.
No, but it's a thing. I think generally as a chess player, and you can see it with top players nowadays, one should be able to play both 1 D4 and 1 E4. And for me, growing up, for whatever reason, because my first chess book gave 1 D4, I've been a 1 D4 player my whole life. 1 D4 normally means you play 1 C4 or 1 knight F3, and you try to mix it up, but I haven't touched 1 E4 very much. And first of all, I always thought it was a gap in my chess education, not just as a player, but also knowledge-wise, because I've worked a ton as a trainer, whatever, mainly as a second for other people, normally very strong players. And there, of course, you work a lot on E4 because they play E4 or they face E4 all the time. So it's not like I was unfamiliar with it, but I'd never built a whole repertoire. And there was something I wanted to do for a while, and I do think I learned a lot. Having said all that, I'm still too chicken to pull the trigger and start going 1E4. It's going to happen. I had a game earlier in the Bundesliga where I went 1 D4, D6, and then I played E4 and course use my course. That was actually a nice game. Because I don't work, excuses are coming, I don't work that much for myself on chess anymore. Like, my 1 D4 is also not as complete as it used to be, because of course stuff is changing. So I feel I have to get ready to play 1 E4 a bit in games as well. But I'm not that active as a player. Or in general, I think I'm not sure if this applies to, let's say, somebody with 1800 there. You could also very much make a case, just pick a move and stick with it and learn your repertoire. But in general, at higher levels, I think it's good to be able to play both 1 D4 and 1 E4, because you're just a lot less predictable than when opponents can hone in. So it's something I wanted to do throughout my chess career. I never quite got around to it, but now at least I did a lot of work on 1 E4. So theory-wise, I feel more ready.
Yeah, and you've got the seed of doubt planted. Your opponents are going to be like, well, he's played D4 every game his entire career, but he has a course on 1 E4. So, which one is...
Of course, everybody's listening to the Perpetual Chess podcast. So now, my next Bundesliga game... In 2027, people will really be scratching their head what they can do.
But I don't know if this factored into your decision, but you didn't go for, as you mentioned in the course, you didn't go for these snoozer lines, like especially against E5. Like you threw down and went with the Dubov Italian. So did that enter into the equation where there's like a very high likelihood you're going to face double king pawn, and then like you're pitching pawns left and right?
It's hard to say. First of all, after E4, E5, it's tough. And of course, I could do the 20th course, giving whatever a repertoire against the Berlin and the Marshall, where you give some theory and it ends with 0-10 and it's equal, or the Italian with 4D3, like some boring stuff. But I wasn't that interested in it, and I wanted to do something that makes it a lot more move by move, and that also had more surprise value. like making things, especially for an e4 newbie like myself who aren't that used to the structure, much more move by move and much more concrete, which I'm not sure is for everybody, but it's always been, even though I have this reputation as a chicken in chess, it's always been my approach to play very much move by move, and there the lines I chose. It's hard to win with white out of the opening anyway, but I think they give you a better bet, especially against a slightly confused opponent, than playing whatever, some slow Berlin or Spanishes. So I want to spice it up a little. Also, I didn't want to repeat what everybody's playing or saying, and there I felt I had some stuff to contribute.
Yeah, I played the Dubov Italian once and got a great position, so I'm 1-for-1. Of course, I screwed it up and lost, but that's a separate podcast. But it's a fascinating line. I mean, it's so dynamic, and yeah, obviously, if you have surprise value, it's really got to be tough for Black to figure out.
At the end of the day, the goal of chess should be to win a chess game, right? I mean, in these courses, it's always tempting to just give the first computer line and say, here is 0-10 and you can't touch me because I gave the first computer moves. But I think confusing people and posing problems over the board is actually more important. And of course, that's always the balance that you have at every level. How much risk are you willing to take? How much are you willing to deviate from the first computer line in order to get an edge? In the course, yeah, it's been a bit different. Against e4, e5, I gave these very sharp lines with hopefully with some surprise value. Well, if people do some trash like the Ayechin, then I thought might as well be principled and go for the biggest advantage possible. So it's always a balance. If they play good openings, you try to gain this practical edge. If they play bad openings, I'm going to get angry letters from the Ayechin community, then might as well go for the first line. But overall, the approach has been, because it's my approach to chess, and also I feel for Chessable students that are obviously willing to work and memorize some stuff, it gives a bigger edge if you make it more move by move and not like, let's play some boring structure and see who the better player is, because rarely the case for me. I need to make it direct.
Okay, yeah. And for context for listeners, so this is part 1 of what will be part 2, and this contains Jan and Vjeko's repertoires against under the E4 umbrella against 1E5 and the Pirc and the Alyekin and the Nimzowitsch, but not
Scandinavian
Team Scandi. Yeah,
the Latvian is covered deeply.
Yeah, but
no, yeah, that's part 1. Part 2 is the Sicilian, Caro-Kann, and French. I finished all the work, so I'm done. I have my repertoire ready, but I have no idea when that's coming out. They decided to make it a 2-part.
Yeah, and it's nice to be a chess star. So as far as I can gather from the course, basically you just sent Vjeko a bunch of chess files, and he does all the hard work.
No, that's yeah, I guess that's basically true. No, I put in some deep notes like, okay, looks playable, and then he made a longer sentence out of it. But yeah, I did the analysis and some very basic explanations and chose all the lines. He wrote some beautiful explanations, and of course I did all the videos where I gave my own perspective on why I chose that and what I thought about it.
Yeah, and how often was he bugging you for like explanations that weren't there in the material?
Never.
Oh, wow.
My material was very, very concise. He would really just had to make it. No, I'm kidding. He's been very diligent organizing the material and asking the right questions. So I think it was a fruitful cooperation. Because frankly, I've always struggled with in Chessable to write something behind every move. Because at the highest level, you have tons of files, but normally there's very little verbal explanation. And that's always been a challenge for me. Also, as you can tell, English is not my first language.
Yeah, your English is terrible.
I'm not sure if it's Vjeko's, but let's take it as an excuse. Mm-hmm. So no, he did the writing. I did the analysis, the files, and the videos.
Yeah, and of course, we're often preaching here on the pod that people need to understand the opening moves that they play, but you're in a unique situation because you understand them. You're just not. I
do not. I click spacebar and then I send them out.
I mean, some of these moves in the sharper lines, like the Dubov Italian, it's
impossible to understand anything. No, it's such a mess. But I think it's tougher for Black. That at least is the general idea. navigate.
Agreed. And with what you said about looking for the most testing lines, I mean, I'm not like, sitting there grinding stockfish, but I was a little surprised that you went with the classical against the Pirc. Is that like the most engine approved, or what went into that decision?
Yeah, that I thought about a bit. In general, okay, maybe it's also a kink of my style. I like sharp play, but I like to have my king safe, sitting there on G1, right, and then to put pressure. While in the Pirc, there are a lot of lines where you castle on opposite side. And my experience with these Pirc modern players is always they wanted that. They want their c6, b5, and try to attack your king on the queen side. Well, in practice against me, if you just go knight f3, knight c3, bishop e2, castle, and then play aggressively rook e1, e5, I've seen them struggle. So I always like that line, and it also makes life a lot easier because you can sort of make life difficult for them if they try to play e4, g6, bishop g7, d6 without knight f6, which does make a lot of sense in these bishop e2 lines. So it's just a line I like, frankly. And of course, you try to fit it under an umbrella later, like an aggressive repertoire or a move-by-move repertoire. But I picked lines that I liked and I thought put the most pressure. And I think that's a good line.
Okay, that makes sense. And you teased within the bowels of this course that in the forthcoming part 2, it's going to be the Open Sicilian, which I have to admit, bit of a pleasant surprise from my perspective, although I know you're not one to back down from needing opening knowledge. But can you tease what you have in store against the French in Caro, or is it too soon to reveal?
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to. I have to check. But it's gonna be aggressive. I honestly don't know if I'm supposed to say.
Okay.
But yeah, the big bulk was the Open Sicilian, where I was getting a little ambitious. And also, if you check the Open Sicilians with white, I was surprised how much the computer hates a lot of these old lines that I grew up with, like the Scheveningen or whatever, and how often it says, no, you just can't do this. So I was learning a lot of stuff for myself. But yeah, it's been very interesting because, as I said, I've worked a lot on main lines for varying people, including the Open Sicilian, but to build it all out and look at, for example, now Naroditsky and Hess, they played e4, c5, knight f3, knight f6. Yeah. I don't think I would have ever studied that if it had not been for the course, but I was booked up. We got a winning position, which we then ruined very quickly.
Yeah, so that one.
Can't take the chess playing part out completely.
That tactic you guys missed was crazy. That was.
Yeah, that was sick.
Yeah. I mean, it was understandable in a 10-minute game, but for listeners, it's still fun to watch the replay of the match if you didn't catch it.
How's Perpetual Chess podcast nowadays? Are you all video and do you have little diagrams of positions we're talking about? What are the production values here?
They're mediocre.
Is this gone mainstream?
So we do have video now, but every time I watch C Squared, I mean, actually, they don't always have the video overlay. Shout out to Christian and Fabiano, of course. So yeah, I'm slacking on the video overlays, but if you want to see my pretty face, you're welcome to. I'm not sure why you would, but
good to see it.
We have 2 more listener questions related to the course. So, and they're on they're similar theme, as you will note. Apparently, you've developed something of a brand. So, question number 1 from Trond Elvin Glamsrud. Thanks for helping to support the pod, Trond. He asks, as a proud member of the Chicken Chess Club, how come you're releasing Gustafsson's aggressive E4? Shouldn't we be getting courses about the exchange Slav, the exchange French, and the Berlin?
I might do that one day, but like I said, maybe I've overdone the chicken branding a little bit. As a theoretician, especially with white, I've always been fairly aggressive, and I felt okay. Trying to do a course, trying to force draws with white wasn't the time yet. Having said all this, I've been pondering like a chicken repertoire where I just go 1d4 and play all the most solid lines possible, like the exchange Slav and the Queen C2 Nimzo, and some Bishop B5 check against the Grunfeld. Maybe one day I'll do the drawing with 1d4 or the chicken 1d4 repertoire.
Nice.
But I felt it was more fun to do something more aggressive this time.
Well, on the topic of maybe having overdone the branding, the second question from a separate person, presumably they didn't communicate, claims to be from Moonmaster 9000, which is a deep cut for longtime Perpetual Chess listeners. I don't think it's the real Moonmaster 9000, if there is a real Moonmaster 9000. Anyway, his question was, Dear Jan, since you're an opening expert, but also getting older and wiser, will you ever make an old man repertoire for us players with a bad memory and little energy? So you basically,
like I said, the 1d4, let's be super solid everywhere rep. I might do one day. I'm not sure it's gonna be that short though, because somehow I always keep drifting towards main lines where you try to be practical within it, but it's never really been my brand to say, okay, play 1d4, 2 bishop f4, 3 e3, 4 c3, 5 knight f3, h3, bishop e2, short castles. And then you'll be okay. Like, you can do that with that information, but then you don't need to watch 20 hours of video instructions. So I don't know. Chess is difficult and big, unfortunately.
Yeah, some of that 2 knights theory that you get into, I only watched the quick starter videos. Like, I didn't even get to the main thing, and it's intense.
I think the quick starters actually give you a pretty good idea. I mean, obviously, it goes deeper, but yeah, it's serious business.
Yeah, I LOL'd when you reach the moment where it's like move 9 or something. I mean, maybe move 9, maybe move 10 or something in the 2 knights, and you're like, and black has 8 moves here that we're going to go through. I'm like, oh my God. But
we shouldn't scare people off. I think it's still manageable and much more fun for white, even for intermediate players. My approach or my goal is always that grandmasters can also learn something from it. And let's face it, in a 1 e4 repertoire, many people won't want to play all the lines, or at least not all the lines every game. But I try to have something in there for everybody. And I think the repertoire, especially the e4, e5 stuff, is very, very suitable at club or whatever. Let's say 1600 on the internet level, because it's so hard for black to even get out of the opening if you don't have specific knowledge there, which I'm assuming your average lead chess or chess.com 1600 won't have. So it's very much built to crush them.
Yeah, and you, as you say, like basically watch or go through the quick starter and then just start playing, and then you can just like learn as you go. And I'm curious because I was impressed with your command of the material, first of all, being like not a 1 e4 lifetime player, but also like in terms of your own development, like did you have like a secret blitz account, or were you just working from a theoretical basis?
No, like I said, over the years, I've worked on so much 1 e4 stuff for many different people. And yeah, blitz, I mean, normally it's pretty transparent because I only play blitz when I'm streaming on Twitch. Janissan TV, excellent German Twitch channel. But yeah, there, of course, I've been trying out the lines a little bit. But in general, not being comfortable playing them against world-class players doesn't mean I'm not familiar with 1 e4 on a rudimentary basis. Like I've had some years in this clicking business.
Okay. And that brings up another question from another Patreon sub from Deshaun Solomon. First of all, shout out to Deshaun. Sometimes I don't know who's still subbed, who isn't. And I remember Deshaun submitting some questions a few years back, and I hadn't heard his name for a while. But he asks, he says, number one, why is your Twitch channel in German and not English? Surely it will grow in English. What say you, Jan?
He's probably, or I don't know if he's right, like I haven't been that present in the English chess sphere recently. I don't know. I started Twitch during the pandemic, as I'm guessing many people did, because I was sitting in my basement, and I'm mainly talking nonsense about how difficult my life is and what movies I've watched recently while having chessboard in the background. Somehow I'm a little more comfortable doing it in my native tongue, but it's probably not the wisest business decision. Then again, who knows? And yeah, I'm sitting there lying in my seat. I slightly prefer saying so, Leute, was machen wir heute? Wieder nichts, dies, das, jenes. But I don't know. Should I switch?
I think you should do both.
Both?
Yeah.
But then
not
people will be
stream,
confused.
But
I don't have time. I barely managed to stream in German. Lead a very busy life.
It's true.
I was in the city of Apolda at the Mitropa Cup for 10 days, or probably 7 days, but let's say 10, with the German boys. They won the Mitropa Cup. It's a very prestigious European tournament of the 10 Central European nations. I guess that's what metropolis means. Then I went to Bundesliga. Then I had the bunch of things on Sunday. Now I'm here in this undisclosed location. I don't get anything done. How do you manage? Like,
the key is to
life's so short. We have families, kids.
To not have your skills be in high demand. That's where you're making a mistake.
I'm not sure. That's
if you're
true.
terrible at openings, you won't get as much work. So, but I'm also curious, Jan. Did you go? So you just mentioned all your travels. Did you go to the I don't even know what to call it, the Freestyle Chess in Germany? Did you pop in?
No, I didn't manage. I heard it was a great event, but yeah, I was going to this Mitropa Cup afterwards, and I only had a couple of days at home. And sometimes, it's not fun, but you gotta spend a day or two with your kids. Like, ask them, are you in school by now?
Right.
Or like,
what are your names
kindergarten?
again?
How are things? So you gotta find out this kind of stuff every now and then.
Yeah. Well, we miss your daughter from the old Chess24 streams, which calls to mind Dishan's second question, which is, what do you miss most about Chess24?
I don't know. For me, it's been years in the making and I haven't been involved with it for a while. As a chess fan, I sort of miss the app that I can check my team matches or tournaments quickly. So I'm aware there are alternatives out there, but I was so used to checking all my chess games on the Chess24 app. So now I have to adjust and I have to learn how to navigate new apps and websites, which is a challenge at our age.
Yeah, same for me. Shout out to Mark Crowther of The Week in Chess. When I wanted to see your games before this interview, I actually had to go download The Week in Chess because I couldn't find them anywhere else. And back in the day, I would have gone to Chess24.
It's a jungle out there.
It is. And Dishan's third and final question.
How many questions do Patreons get here? Like 8 questions? What's the limit?
Well, again, you're a popular
Dishan.
guy. They've basically been in hiding for like month after month. There's hundreds of subs, which I'm very grateful for, but we haven't been getting a lot of questions. And then Jan comes and boom, everyone's submitting pages and pages of questions. And Dishan's final question for the win is, do you plan to do a banter blitz using chess.com? I'm
open to it. Give me money, chess.com.
And
that's what it comes down to.
And
no, but I should do some English stuff. No, now I got to promote the course. Like here, I'm just here to catch up with you, obviously.
Yeah,
it's
just coincidence.
We're talking about the course. Yeah. But other than that, I'll have to do some stuff. Why not? I always enjoyed doing banter blitzes.
Yeah. And while we're asking you about stuff that you no longer do, let's go to the next Patreon question. This one is from NN, the same person who played Morphy a bunch of times for you chess historians. Any chance you'll return to the Chicken Chess Club podcast? I'm grateful that Peter Hein Nielsen and Mr. Dodgy are continuing it, but missing you and Laurent.
I hear you. I don't know. You never know what the future brings. But basically, I felt the podcasting space has been occupied by Perpetual Chess, and we have very, very little to add. Like, you can try to put together different grandmaster teams to compete, but it's not going to work in the long run. At some point, you have to count your losses and move on to something else.
You come for the king, you best not miss. No, I understand.
On a serious note, I don't know. I think we want to go into a slightly different directions. Peter Heine and also Mr. Dodgy, they're socially conscious. They want to talk about the big problems in the world, while I just want to make dumb jokes, and it was hard to fit in everything. So I hope they're having a good time with it, but I think that's the direction they're headed for. Well, me, you know me, I'm just here for the lols, and I didn't have any big statements to make of politics every week.
So for the regular listener, such as myself, to Chicken Chess Club, Laurent's disappearance was well forecasted. That one, he seemed to be getting increasingly evasive as the episodes went on. And like you, he's a busy guy in high demand. So shout out to Laurent, totally understand it.
It's not that busy.
At least he's not playing golf every day like Peter Hein Nielsen. But you, other than introducing every episode as the final episode, which I almost did for this episode of Perpetual Chess, but the for the people who don't overlap, I didn't want them to panic.
You don't want to scare the adult improvers. There's a lot of improving still to be done. Don't you worry.
Exactly. The grind is relentless. But I didn't foresee your disappearance as much. That one surprised me.
Yeah, what can you do? Like, it might come back in the future, and there's no hard feelings or anything. I just felt, it was a slightly different direction with the FIDE segment and so on, that I don't follow that world all that closely. And it was getting a bit repetitive. And as you said, very hard to fit in with our very busy schedules of Peter Heine playing 40 hours of golf per week. Laurent has to visit various French cafes and nightclubs. And I'm also incredibly busy. So it was tough. But who knows what the future brings.
So basically, I'm
going to be on your show every week.
I'm available.
So I'll have an outlet.
Don't you worry. But so basically, you're a big fan of FIDE, and you and Peter butted heads over that.
No bigger FIDE fanboy than me. Shout out FIDE. If you have any appeals committee spots, I'll be very quiet. You won't even notice me in the appeals committee. Don't you worry.
Okay. All right. The next major topic I wanted to hit with you, Jan, is seconding. Again, undisclosed location. I don't know if it's related. The candidates are coming up. But
are they? I hear rumors. Do you also hear rumors? I know you're very connected.
Yeah. Here in North America, which is a true shocker. But yeah, for listeners, hopefully we'll have a preview pod coming within the next few weeks. I'm getting excited, although it's a weird time for chess with like all this online stuff, and obviously no Magnus, and Ding not in great form. But to me, I mean, do you still get excited for it?
And generally, candidates and championship matches, I always get excited for. I understand it's a weird phase with the stuff you mentioned, but it's still the battle for the chess crown. Like, sometimes I have a hard time getting up for what's this super tournament, or this part of what tour, or is this Champions Chess Tour, Grand Chess Tour? What's going on? But candidates and World Championship, I very much am excited about.
Yeah, that I empathize with. I have a lot of trouble with like all the invitationals and stuff. And that was one thing that impressed me when you guys were doing the Chicken Chess Club pod, is you're following all these tournaments. So I'm curious, when you were doing it, like how much was it so that you could talk about it, and how much of it is you are following these tournaments anyway?
But normally we're following because of professional obligations, not doing commentary or seconding or whatnot. But other than that, I think most grandmasters are sort of at least clicking through the games. But now I have to find a new app to do it, but briefly catching up on what has happened at top levels. I meant more, it's sometimes hard for me to get excited about the outcome of a particular invitational at that time, but candidates and World Championship match,
that's a good point.
I'm all in.
The history being written is definitely a major part of the appeal. And again, I don't know if you're working for anyone. You're welcome to tell us if you are. But can you reveal to us, as I often ask, who's going to win the candidates?
It's hard to say. I would guess, well, Fabi is probably the first name that comes to mind, having had a very good 2023. Also, he's been there, done that. So is Nepomniachtchi, who I think won the last two candidates. So those are sort of the old established guys. Hikaru is obviously there. And then I can't quite judge. Obviously, all these kids are incredibly good. But if the Gukeshes and Pragnadas, especially Pragnadar looks very strong recently, if they're ready to win such a tournament, or they're teenagers, right? I mean, it's a bigger stage.
Yeah.
If they'll get nervous, or if they just say it's business as usual. I've been working hard. I'm good at chess. Very, very hard for me to read. If you made me pick, I think, Fabi and Nepomniachtchi are probably the names you go with, because they have the track record, they have the playoff experience, but it's very hard for me to read.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, the quintessential debate of age versus youthful sharpness and bravado. We'll see what experience counts for in April. But I'm with you.
That's your preview?
Yep, we're canceling the 90-minute preview. No, I mean, I echo your sentiment that if you had to pick a favorite, it would have to be Fabi. But you know, it's going to be settled on the board, Jan, not by us pundits.
Wow, getting ready for first take here. Like, this is some fire.
And so you were seconding Magnus. One might think from the outside that you suddenly have more free time, but you were working with Giri in, I believe it was Vaikanze. Are you still working with Giri?
No, that's not been going on for a while. Never say never. Might make a return, but no, I haven't worked with Anish for a while. But yeah, somehow I find ways to stay busy. I worked hard on the FIDE World Rapid Team Championship, very important event, which we won last year as well. So I collected another world champion title. That's actually true. But yeah, no, there's always stuff going on. But you know how it is in the chess world as a freelancer. It's a grind. Like, gotta put food on the table every day. You don't know where it's coming from. So trying to stay busy. And I clearly won't be making it with playing chess as happened this weekend. So I have to find other stuff.
And we've discussed this tiny bit privately, and I can edit this out if you want. But would you like to dispel the myth that you got rich through Chess24? Or...
Unfortunately, not true. Still hustling. Okay. I know Donnie's still unsure. He keeps Googling Jan Gustafsson net worth. No, Donnie, you're secure there. Yeah,
all the hits for Jan Gustafsson net worth are coming from New York.
It's all Donnie. We know it's all Donnie.
Okay. Okay, we have another question relating to seconding. This one is from Chris Moore. Thanks for supporting the pod, Chris. He writes, the chess world was taken aback when Magnus Carlsen announced his decision not to compete for the World Championship, a move that presumably had some implications for your role as his second. Can you share the range of emotions you experienced in response to this?
Wow, the question is so well worded. I am trying to even grasp the full context. But no, I sort of knew beforehand. He had told us before the match against Nepomniachtchi, even when we started preparations there, that this was very likely the last rodeo. And I never thought of it as like a full-time job. I thought of it as an honor to be involved with a tiny part of chess history in a tiny role. Like, obviously is great, but it was always like before the matches, I wouldn't know if I was on the team or not. And if I got the call, I was in the 2016, 2018 and 2021 matches. It was great, but it's not like that was my full-time thing to do. And we knew well in advance. So it wasn't like a lot of range of emotions for me. It was more like, okay, let's try to win this likely last match. Unfortunately, Magnus is pretty good at chess, so chances are quite good at that, and then see what it brings. And other than that, of course, the chess world is in a confused state, but I mean, he's earned it to make his own decisions. And yeah, it's not like I had a lot of emotional turmoil connected to it. I mean, guy's just good.
Yeah, he's amazing. Yeah, and after he made the announcement, I interviewed David Howell like shortly before the announcement, and in looking back at that interview, David was basically saying without saying that he wasn't going to play the match. And similar to you guys on Chicken Chess Club, but there was this strain of denial I had. And I think it was very common for the people who don't like personally know Magnus. And obviously after he made the announcement and you have time to think about it, it does make sense that like when you remove the sort of financial or historical incentive, it's a lot of work and he doesn't need the money. But I'm curious, like, did you guys think like maybe he'll change? Like, what percentage in your head was it maybe he'll change his mind? Because I feel like so many chess fans were like, we know he's saying this, but he's going to change his mind. But everyone who knew him didn't actually think he was going to change his mind or knows him.
Yeah, once again, it's very hard to read people's minds. But I think Magnus, he's always been very outspoken. Also, people always think there's like 7 different layers to what he's saying. But if he's saying I don't want to play the match because I don't enjoy playing the matches. That's what he means. And we took it at face value, which I think most people that know him did as well. And of course, you never know what the future brings if they were to change the format or whatever negotiations could happen there. But we, and I think we've said so on the podcast, all thought, yeah, that's what he said. That's what he means. And let's accept it, or let's at least face it until further notice.
Yeah. I mean, in my defense as like a peon tea leaf reader, the fact that FIDE talked about like how constructive the meeting they had with Magnus was, leading up to the World Championship, where they were like very optimistic or whatever the wording was. I should have seen through that, but I didn't. I fell for it.
You're also a body language doctor, no? Didn't you check how Sutovsky was walking out of the meeting? Like,
right, yeah. Throwing it back to my live poker days, for sure. And okay, another question related to freestyle chess. So a lot of debates lately about like the format taking over. It could put you out of work. Noted opening theoretician that you were. I'm curious how you feel about it, both from sort of your professional vantage point and your spectator vantage point.
Like you said, not a fan. Now, I frankly, I didn't watch it that much, and I've heard now, like I think it was Aronian on the weekend, he was talking about that it's a great experience to play it with classical time control, because you get this new situation from move one, and there you can really use your time. For me, and I'm guessing, but I don't know, that it could also apply to some chess fans, it helps to have some guidance in form of openings. Then it's easier to relate to the games, and obviously that's my specialty, so I'm very, very biased there as well. But I think the chess industry, and also, yeah, as a casual chess watcher, for me it's tough to see these pieces all over the place and have to figure out who's castling what way. I don't like it. I think there's plenty classical or make it rapid chess with the normal position still to be played with plenty of intrigue. Of course, it's understandable. Magnus, yeah, he's a bit tired of preparing for all these classical games and all that theory, so he enjoys this format, and also I think the rapid matches where there's not that much prep going on. But of course, I'm old school. I like, my king on e1, my queen on d1, and take it from there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm on team make it rapid, and I know there's a lot of listeners who disagree, especially who just love it as it is and say they don't need.
Now that's all these talented chess players, like the grinders like me, who have to learn all this stuff in order to have a chance to compete. We need one starting position to focus on. Like all these talents out there that are just, that just need a chance to prove their skills. When now with 960 positions, their raw skills can take over, and they will no longer be dominated by these nerds that study Chessable courses. I think they will now take over the world when finally pure raw talent can beat the hustle.
And in watching your course again, I was really impressed with. I mean, I don't know exactly how you were working it in terms of like I watched the video. Shout out to Juan from Chessable who sent it to me. I didn't line your pockets.
Wow, must be nice. Must be nice to be influenced.
I didn't line your pockets this time, Jan. Although I have bought your courses in the past. But how does it work when you're going through it? Are you clicking through your files? Because again, I was really impressed at old men that we are, that how thoroughly you knew the material, even as Vjeko had been the one who did most of the writing.
But I did the material, Ben.
But still,
like all the files, it's my analysis.
If I analyze an opening today and look at it tomorrow, it's going to be like I've never seen it before. That doesn't seem to be your experience.
What, after 10,000 episodes on Adult Improver, you still can't remember 2 lines?
That's why I talk about it rather than I'm not in the lab.
Yeah, I don't know. No, of course you have the file there as well, but like I said, it's my analysis, so I'm not going to claim I know every subline till move 27, and often I caught myself in the video saying, okay, you don't need to know this stuff, this is ridiculous, this got a little out of hand with clicking on stuff. But I would like to think I have a general familiarity with stuff I did.
Okay. And you're still, can you reveal anything about the Open Sicilian? Can you reveal which sixth move of the 22 you're recommending against the Najdorf?
Depends. And against the knight of, I think, or I know, we're going bishop e3. But I wanted to make it, like consistent, whatever, go bishop e2 or bishop e3 anywhere. And then I started getting competitive, and I thought, we'll go for the throat wherever. It doesn't matter where we have to put the bishop. So in the rouser, ended up going bishop c4, and in the Tamana, the bishop was going to e2. So it's, once again, quite specific, but I was very happy with the Sicilian material. At least I learned a lot. Plugging the course that's going to come out in half a year.
Oh, is it going to be that long? Because you made it sound...
I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea.
And Jan, what else do you have? Again, I'm sure you can't reveal everything, but what do you have on your calendar this year, chess-wise?
I don't know, actually. I'm not great at planning. Like, I guess I'll be involved with the candidates one way or another, doing commentary or doing something. Let me think. I should have some stuff on my calendar. We have the Chess Olimpiad in Budapest. That's later this year. But German boys, they're vice-European champion. And we have high hopes there, trying to be well prepared for that one. Then we have the prestigious FIDE World Rapid Team Championship again, where I'll be team captain. We'll prepare for that one. And I don't know. There should be more stuff. I'm bad at organizing, Ben.
Do you know which books you're going to bring to these tournaments?
No, I'm not an avid reader. Now in Apolda, I kept going to the local bookstore, which was also pretty much the only social activity I could find there, and just told them, recommend me a book. I'm a middle-aged guy. I haven't read anything. Then I would read whatever they gave me. But they gave me, what's it called? Ken Follett. I don't know the English title. The Pillars of the Earth.
Okay.
Is that
so it's like a mystery
Is that
book?
what it's called? It's a thick book. There's a bunch of monks like going from A to B, and then there's some plotting about who wants to be the king. So I'll be busy with that for a while.
Okay. And the German team, I guess Keymer is board 1. Who else is on it?
I don't know. It's going to be nominations in June. And of course, rating helps. But I also get to pick at least one spot. Bluebaum currently is number 2, former European champion, very strong player. Then we have the Svane brothers, 2 very strong grandmasters. We have Donchenko, very strong grandmaster, Dimitri Kolas, Dennis Wagner. There's a bunch of people to choose from, but we'll wait for the rating list in June, and whatever bribes have hit my account till then to figure out who's on the team.
Do you find it hard to obviously this is a major deal for the players involved. Do you find it hard to have to make cuts like that?
Yeah, good thing is I don't like them personally that much, so normally it's harder to have to decide which 5 of them you have to hang out there for 2 weeks. So for me, it's the reverse. But seriously, yeah, of course it's tough, because also it could change the next tournament with the next rating list and the results. So you try to sort of stay in touch. And the European Championship was nice because we had 6 candidates, and Frederick Svane, who's a very strong 19-year-old grandmaster, didn't make the cut that time around, but I brought him as a second/opening analyst, which was great, first of all, to have him around and as part of the team anyway. And secondly, he did all my work at night while I could sleep and watch, reruns of The Office, which was, a win-win situation.
It's tough being Jan Gustafsson. That's the major theme of this episode.
It's a hard knock life.
And I think we're almost ready to abandon chess entirely as a topic for any pop culture hot takes. But I guess the one other thing I wanted to ask you was, so you mentioned you didn't get a chance to go to the Freestyle chess event, but Jan Buettner, from my understanding, part of how he got into chess, he became friends with your German compatriot, Grandmaster Nicholas Hussenbeth, and his interest escalated.
Also candidate for the national team, by the way. Shout out to Nicholas.
Okay, shout out. So I'm curious if you've ever met Jan Buettner away from the resort where this recent event was.
I have not, but I don't live that far away. So, Mr. Buettner, if you have any events coming up at the Weissenhaus.
Yeah, it's outside of Hamburg, right?
I think so.
Okay, amazing. But yeah, exciting for chess. I mean, it sounds like he's pedal to the metal in terms of events in the near future, whether we're excited about freestyle chess or not. And for the record, I'm not excited. I just prefer rapid. But people like Aronian.
Are you, like, nonsense aside, and are you excited about chess? Like, about upcoming events, or is it more, okay, gotta keep the pot running? Like, how's your passion about chess? Do you try to improve? Would you want to play a tournament if you had time?
Oh, so I've been playing a bit. I found like a local place to play where you just play on weeknights, and I find that way, way more palatable than going to these weekend tournaments. You know, I'm not like having dinner with Anand when I go to these tournaments, so it's not as exciting for me. So I enjoy...
But that's because you're telling him, Vishy, stop bothering me. I'm busy.
Right.
I got books to write.
So I enjoy the process of competing. It's similar, you know, there's the famous saying, like, I enjoy having written, but I don't enjoy writing. When you talk about, like, authors say this about writing a book, that's kind of how I feel about playing tournament chess. I like that it keeps me sharp. I'm always glad that I did it. But on the day that I'm playing, I'm very ambivalent about it. And that filters through to my willingness to study. I don't know if you have more adult improver questions for me. I'm an open book, and I'm happy to help you however I can. But in terms of a chess fan, similar to what you were saying, I get super excited for the big events, but then the smaller events, I feel like there's too many of them, honestly. But people got to make a living, you know, like it's good.
Let's get rid of half of them. Like these top players, they can have some time.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have mentioned that maybe there needs to, like Levi Rosman recently did a video where he said there needs to be like a tennis-like system with like a more unified tour with points. Jakob Aagaard has talked about stuff like this as well. So yeah, maybe fewer events with more import, I guess I would advocate for. But on the other hand, again, we want people to be able to be well compensated for their work here in this here in the chess world. Can't have it both ways.
That's your big statement. Yep.
All right, Jan, anything else chess before we switch to either NBA or pop culture?
I don't know. Can we do that? I don't want to lose Donny Ariel as a listener. He'll switch off if we stop talking chess. Any chess book recommendations? I should read some chess books.
Let me think. I mean, Think Like a Super GM seems to be the most beloved book of the past couple years. And I
read, yeah, that's Mickey's book.
Yeah, and Paul van der Stern, who I just interviewed.
Didn't help. I didn't think like a Super GM at all.
You're pretty close. Paul van der Stern's biography I recently interviewed him, was just translated to English. It's amazing. Have you read it perchance?
No, I haven't. Okay. I heard it was good.
The thing is, it's epic. It's like 700 pages, but as I mentioned to him when I interviewed him, there's a sense that like it reads like a novel. Like you can, speaking of getting old, you can feel sort of the ups and downs of life and grappling with mortality as a chess professional. So it was a rare chess book that
sounds like it's gonna make me even more depressed. I don't need that kind of stuff.
Yeah, although there's something redemptive in that he's found other things to captivate him. First becoming a meditation teacher, and now writing a lot. So I think you'd enjoy that one.
Do you see that as a viable path for me in the future? Meditation teacher?
Definitely. Yeah.
I'll think of that.
Okay, pop culture, Jan. Other than The Office, have you watched any good shows lately? And for listeners, we might lapse back into chess, but my basic plan is anyone who only wants to hear about chess, you can tune out safely now, because it may even devolve into NBA for the last 5 minutes. But let's start with the more broad appeal.
Bye, Donnie.
Yeah, let's start with the more broad appeal of TV shows and such, movies, whatever.
I don't have that much. I'm busy. I want to watch all these Oscar-nominated movies. I haven't seen most of them yet, like Anatomy of a Fall. I want to see Zone of Interest, The Holdovers. A lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, I want to see shows, The Holdovers.
I watched Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which was sort of surprisingly good. But yeah, that was watchable. Now, I've been into 1600s Japan. I was watching Blue Eye Samurai. Blue Eye Samurai is great. and now I'm watching Shogun.
Already?
The first 2 episodes
it just
are
came
out.
out, right?
That looks epic. That looks like Game of Thrones with samurais. So what's not to like?
Yeah, they made us read that book in high school. It was a good book, so I'll probably...
James Cowell, shout out.
Well done. Yeah, you could bring that one to the Olympiad. It'll occupy the whole tournament. Yeah, I'm excited to watch that. I heard your boy Peter Svidler on the New in Chess podcast recommend The Bear. Have you watched The Bear?
I recommended The Bear to Peter. It's always the same. I don't get any credit.
He did not credit
no,
you.
The Bear was amazing. Yeah, that's a great binge, both seasons, very quickly.
Okay.
Highly recommend it.
I watched this movie, The Worst Person in the World, Norwegian. I wanted
Norwegian?
I wanted to understand Magnus, so...
You're such an intellectual. I was rewatching Die Hard. You're sitting there like watching Scandinavian art house pieces.
Listen, Die Hard's a foreign movie for you, so you're.
No, the bad guys are German. I feel very at home.
Okay. Yeah, I think that might be it for pop culture recommendations. I'm reading. Oh, yeah, this is going to devolve into basketball. I'm reading. Wojnarowski of the NBA wrote a book back in the day before he blew up about St. Anthony's
Twitter.
High School.
Why does he need to write books?
Yeah,
okay. It's
this is from like 2003, 2004. So it's chronicling this New Jersey high school basketball team, but it's quite good. It's like Friday Night Lights, sort of. But so that brings me to the NBA. Are you still following it, Jan?
Fantasy League. Not doing well this year. So I'm following the fantasy stuff. I'm playing against world champion Magnus Carlsen.
I was going to ask if he's in the league. Is he winning?
I think he has a better record than me. I don't know if he's winning, but I don't have a great team. Let me see how we're doing.
Jan, I know that you have legions of fans, but even no one wants to hear about your fantasy team.
What? It's against Magnus Carlsen, the world
That's true.
Former chess champion.
If you can work in Magnus.
I have 46%, he has 54%. My record is 7-11, his is 10-8. So now it's been a disappointing season. Halliburton's injury, he hasn't recovered. It's been rough. Other than that, I watch NBA like the Kardashians. I follow all the storylines. I listen to all the podcasts. I don't watch a lot of games. They start late in Europe. Normally, I don't have time to catch up the next day. But whenever I'm out there hustling, I listen to the Low Post or the Dunker Spot or whatever, all your brainy NBA podcasts.
Yeah, apparently, in sports media, they're talking about this as it's become a thing where people, and I'm guilty of it too, even though the games aren't as late for me, where a lot of people follow it without watching it.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a thing in chess?
Sort of. People watch it, but you don't really understand what's going on the board. No, I often don't. Maybe you switch on the engine. You watch the broadcasts, but I don't think. Also, I think it's strange actually. You're doing it a bit, but there's so much nerdy debate about any statistic in basketball or any contract or any gossip, any storyline really, and we don't have that in chess at all. When you could argue that chess is a much more suitable game to nerdy statistics analysis. But I don't recall any podcast analyzing, I don't know, Magnus's percentages with 1 E4 compared to 1 D4. Well, if somebody shot 31% from 3, but 76% from 2, that would be talked about plenty in NBA podcasts.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, the analytics space could use some more build out, but I do tend to interview someone like Chess by the Numbers or Chess Goals leading up to the big events, at least. And I do enjoy, not surprisingly, since I'm a NBA nerd too, do enjoy that aspect. That made me think of, because the one storyline, I agree that Chess World lacks storylines, but I have to admit, I've gotten into Hans Niemann's YouTube channel. I'm never a YouTube person, but he's doing this road to the world championship where he's going to become world champion in 5 years. And he's doing a vlog every single day. And this is the kind, people like John Bartholomew have been saying for years, people would like more glimpses behind the curtain. And obviously Hans is not at this moment a top 10 player, but just seeing the daily life, I find interesting. Have you seen any of his, other than all the clickbait drama with Hikaru, have you seen any of these videos, Jan?
Not much, no. I haven't seen that much. Obviously, I read the news about Hans and the hotel room thing. And I think, Hans, if you're listening, I think Hans called me a couple nights ago, but I'm not sure. Because I rated him on Twitch. And yeah, he said, thank you, big fan. If you're looking for work, let me know. And then I got a call from a US number. But I was already like half asleep. It was like 2 a.m. and I didn't know the number, so I didn't answer the phone. So maybe Hans Niemann called me, and now I'll never find out. We have to figure this out. But no, I'll check out his YouTube. I haven't seen that. Sometimes I would tune in on Twitch when he's streaming.
I'm enjoying the story. It's just like you don't know what's going to happen, So that's.
Also, I don't know how it is for you nowadays. But if someone just cold calls without texting first, I don't know how to react.
It's
like, do you pick up the phone?
Yeah.
Do people pick up the phone if you don't know the number?
No, never. Yeah.
Never, no?
I mean, if it's like a local area code, so I think it's like, a tree cutting service.
Yeah, I think it's the bank or where it might be my kid's school or something. But if it's like from far away, I'm very scared.
But you guys should collab, you and Hans.
Still, I should call Hans back if it was Hans.
I mean, or just call the number back, to find out who it is. But that would be
Good
cool.
Point.
And how do you feel about the existential threat of cheating generally? This is chess, not basketball.
Oh, that's a difficult topic. I feel it's there, but I also feel that the Kramnik approach of course, not accusing, but of calling everybody interesting who's not a top 5 player whom he knows personally that has a good result or wins an online tournament. It's not really helping us that much. And I'm a bit worried that I feel a bunch of the top players are like, maybe not following his lead, but there's this perception that everybody who's not part of the inner circle is cheating at all times in online chess, which I don't think is true. And I know a bunch of people that have good results in online chess that aren't cheating. So I'm a bit worried about this general trend to thinly veiled, is it veiled or veiled? Thinly veiledly accuse everybody of improper play that has a good result in any random Title Tuesday, or all this nonsense with, oh, look at this guy, he had this and that accuracy, or he had this and that score. I feel it's gotten a little unserious, the debate, even though the danger, of course, is real. But if we're just going to suspect everybody who ever won a chess game, then we're not going to get anything done either.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear you say that. I mean, certainly the top players are working with more information than someone.
Are they?
I give them the benefit of the doubt to some extent, but as like when Nate Solon and I interviewed the CEO of Chess.com, Eric Albest, like as we said, like the people, if you just look at the list of winners of like Title Tuesday, for example, it's not crazy. It's mostly top 20 players, and then
of course, once you believe everybody's cheating, you can always absorb any information into that model. Yeah, people are cheating against anybody but against Magnus and Hikaru, because that's too obvious. So they can keep having good results, but everybody else, I don't know, it gets out of hand, and it feels like, it feels unserious. So I don't know how bad it is in online chess. Obviously, I think that's cheating, and I quite often play cheaters even when streaming random blitz games, but I don't think that every grandmaster who's not a top 5 player is cheating in every other game, the way it's sometimes communicated. And I also don't like this, even though, of course, it's never openly said, but this name calling of interesting, that guy had that and that accuracy. Well, I don't think that metric is meant to detect cheaters to begin with. I don't know. I feel it's going into a strange direction where we're losing focus on the problem by saying, lol, look what Kramnik posted. Now, well, of course, it's a serious problem, but I'm not sure his approach is helping resolve it, let's say.
Well said. Couldn't agree more. And are you worried about like brain implants and stuff for like OTB cheating?
When are they ready? Like, call me. When are they ready? Like, I need one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Brain implants? Are we there?
It seems to be coming. I don't know. But I guess there's probably bigger problems than like competitive chess if, once stuff like that is fully available. All right. Well, Jan, it's been a pleasure. You're always welcome. we do miss the Chicken Chess Club, but
he says that on air.
But if you ever, I promise I won't talk about FIDE. Available. Well, if you don't want me to. The course is called Jan Gustafsson's Aggressive 1E4, co-authored with candidate master Vjekoslav Nemec. Jan, anything else before you say goodbye?
No, been a pleasure catching up. Shout out to the adult improvers, the chess punks out there. And is that your people, the chess punks?
Hell yeah, yeah. Well done, Jan.
See? And yeah, glad talking to you. See you guys next week when we'll dig deep into how solving tactics can help your improvement at advanced age.
All right. Until then.